So Joaquin Buckley fought Colby Covington last night, and while I didn't get to witness the fight, live because I fell asleep after a long day at work, um, I still rewatched it, and it was a great showing from Buckley. Colby did show up prepared, but I think, in my opinion at least, it's safe to say that Colby Covington is washed. You know, I think he showed up prepared, and he showed up with a really good chin that took a lot of clean, heavy shots from Buckley, one of which dropped him. But Colby was still able to get, back up and recover. Um, I think Colby's washed, man. I think Colby, is past his prime. His prime was when he had that feud with Kamaru Usman. Maybe he gets to do a trilogy with Usman, even though he lost two in a row. Um, I don't know. Colby is an excellent fighter on the mic and outside of the octagon, but inside, for me, he's always been an anomaly. He'll show up sometimes, he won't other times. He's got great pressure. Um, I would consider him to be a brawler, striking wise, and his wrestling is top notch. Um, he had moments on the ground with Buckley, a couple takedowns, but on the feet, I felt like Joaquin was always a step ahead. And the power made a difference, and the power was the component that was able to rearrange Colby's face and force a doctor's stoppage last night. I felt like the fight should have continued. I feel like the doctors have, quite frankly, been fucking up a handful of recent UFC fights. And I felt like this one definitely could have continued and been a war. Even though I felt like Buckley, again, was ahead on the feet, I think if it went to the judges' scorecards, it would have been competitive, just given how, just given the wrestling of Colby and the fact that Colby was still in there. He wasn't really getting knocked out, but he was getting battered. And like I said, I felt like Buckley was just a step ahead on the feet, at least. And Buckley got it, TKO, doctor stoppage. Buckley beat Colby, rearranged his face, and he's headed upward on the welterweight rankings and the welterweight path to the belt. And I feel like Buckley's ready. He made a change. He's evolved when he evolved when he made that change of weight class to welterweight. I think he evolved, man. I think he brought a lot of power with him, and that power is showing. That power has been showing. He's got hands, and he's got heavy hands, and when they connect, he's able to knock out fighters or send them flying backwards, and that's a great tool to have when you're trying for the belt. And there's a lot of questions that we can now ask. Like, how does he fare between how does it compare with Bilal and Ian Gary and Shavkat and JDM and Usman? And I can get into all those, and I will be getting into all those in separate videos. But for now, I'll stay on the topic of the fight between Joaquin and Colby, and what it means, because it means that, I think Buckley is in title shot contention. I think those 4 straight wins were enough to get him into title shot contention. And I think my prediction for what's next for Buckley is Ian Gary. Buckley's been calling out for Usman, and I think that would be a great fight. But I think Usman is kind of weird right now with matchups, and I think Usman's already got a fight lined up. So I don't know. Usman's just kind of weird. He'll have some hiatuses, and I think his knee also causes issues, and he's just got all these other things that just kind of fuck up fights for him, or fuck up like the building of fights or the scheduling of fights. So I think Ian Gary is a much more plausible next matchup for Joaquin, and I think it'll be a really fun fight. If not fun, it'll be an interesting fight between two young gunners who are both trying to get a chance at the title shot. They're both trying to get a chance at the welterweight UFC championship belt. So yeah, I think Joaquin fights Ian next. I'll make a whole video breaking down that fight. but I'll give y'all a little teaser. You know what I'm saying? I think like I said, Ian Gary, his specialty is containing fighters. I think he was successful in containing Shavkat for a good piece of his fight against Shavkat, but Shavkat was able to show levels, not show levels, but Shavkat was able to, do what he does. Um, Most of which was on the feet. He was able to connect really cleanly on Ian Gary. On the ground, however, Ian Gary did hold his own and nearly submitted Shavkat. But it was a controversial fight with a controversial ending. I feel like it could have went either way, but Shavkat came out victorious, and now Shavkat is next up for a title shot. And whether Bilal wins or Shavkat wins, I think next up to fight the winner. Of course, depending upon how Bilal versus Shavkat ends, because if it ends in like a nail biter split decision, then they might go for a rematch right away. But if they don't go for a rematch right away, I think the next challenger for the winner of that fight is going to be the winner of Joaquin Buckley versus Ian Gary. And yeah, I think what happened last night basically sets the next few fights for welterweight in motion. We've got a lot of upcoming welterweight stars, however, too. So that makes things interesting going forward. But right now, near the upper echelon of the welterweight division, I think things are falling into place, and they fall into place how I just predicted them to. So, yeah, great job, great showing from Joaquin Buckley. The fans love him. I'm surprised at that. Just at how much support. I know he has supporters, but a lot of people like Joaquin. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next. He's got a fuck ton of power. He's smart. He doesn't move in, stupidly. But he's a smart fighter. He's got power. I wouldn't say he's incredibly smart, but he's smart. He's got wits about him. And he's got enough power that when he lands cleanly, he does some real damage to his opponents. So I'm excited for Joaquin. I think Colby Covington is washed. I think he should retire. I doubt he does. I think he'll try to fight some fucking old guy at welterweight and build that fight up. I think Colby's an all-timer on the mic. Not inside the octagon, but on the mic he is. Very entertaining. He's always been able to entertain. He plays the bad guy. He plays it well. Respect to him. And he's washed. I think Colby's washed. I think he's done. I think he's a great wrestler. Always has been. He's a brawler on the feet. He's not great on the feet. And I think, his body just ain't holding up, especially with the healing process and shit like that. And you could yell at me, say, Colby, anybody would have been stopped if they were beaten that bad. I get it. But what I'm saying is, prime Colby, I felt like would have been able to bring that fight all the way through. Despite the doctor stoppage, I think prime Colby would have been able to fucking, throw some damage at Joaquin's way, make both the guys bloody, grapple and wrestle a whole lot more, just meet Joaquin where Joaquin's trying to meet him, is what I'm trying to say. And I felt like Colby didn't do that, and Colby got stopped, He got stopped. He got beaten badly. Like I said, face rearranged. And, I think it's time for him to retire. I really do. If this was his first, bad loss, then maybe I would say other things, but especially given the version of him that showed up to fight Leon Edwards, I'm just, I used to be a Colby fan. I'm not anymore, just because of how he showed up against Leon. But yeah, I would argue it's time for Colby to retire. I'm guessing he won't. There are still a good few fights out for him still. I would watch Colby versus Usman 3. I think Colby could also fight Jorge Masvidal, because Masvidal's trying to get, a fight in the UFC still. And maybe Colby could even be a gatekeeper at welterweight as well. Maybe the UFC could change him into a gatekeeper and he can fight the up and comers and test them out. There's a lot of things, still that the future can hold for this guy. But overall, you let me know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next.